Are we on Zoom? Okay. Okay, good morning. The regular meeting of the Windward Planning Commission will now come to order. It is Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. The time is 9:01 a.m. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time to come out to the Windward Planning Commission's meeting. Now I will introduce the commissioners. I'd like to start by introducing the Windward Planning Commissioners, Vice Chair Chantel Perrin.
Good morning.
Commissioner Lauren Balog,
Good morning.
Commissioner Wayne Deleuze, Commissioner Jonelle Fukushima, Commissioner Gordon Takaki is absent and excused, and I am Chair Louis Daniele III. We have quorum of 4 members to hold this meeting. Also present are Deputy Corporation Counsel Susanna Tiapula, who is the attorney for the commission and is present to advise the commission on legal matters, and Planning Director Jeffrey Darrow.
Good morning.
Is present to advise the commission on planning matters. Should they have any questions, the planning director is representing the planning department and is not a member of the planning commission. Commissioners, please confirm that you have had the opportunity to review the materials related to the agenda items being reviewed today. I just need a verbal. Okay. I note that each commissioner has verbally confirmed having the opportunity to review materials related to the agenda item being reviewed today and all submitted testimony. Before we get started, a little housekeeping. Please turn off or silence your cell phones. Public restrooms are located in the middle of the building to the right. If there's anyone here in person who would like to testify, please fill out the yellow sign-up form at the staff table. Also, if you have any written testimony that has not been sent in earlier, you may submit that to staff at this point in time. Please press the button on your microphone. If the light is on, your mic is active. Speak directly and clearly so your statements can be recorded. Remember to mute when you are done. Okay, so we have approval of minutes, the verbatim meeting transcripts of September 5th, 2024, November 1st, 2024, and December 5th, 2024 relating to the application of Neil Jezing, PL-SMA-2024-60 has been circulated. Commissioners, are there any concerns? If none, may I ask for a motion to approve as circulated, corrected, or seconded?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay, so it was moved by Vice Chair Chantel, Vice Chair Perrin, and seconded by Commissioner Fukushima, that the September 5th, 2024, and November 1st, 2024, and December 5th, 2024 relating to the application of Neil Jizing, PL-SMA-2024-60 be approved as circulated and or corrected. Do we have any discussion on this matter? Seeing that there is no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, no one opposed. Motion carries. Please note the February 6, 2025 Windward Planning Commission minutes were approved at the March 10th, 2025 hearing. We will now begin public testimony, starting with in-person speakers, followed by Zoom participants. Testimony will continue until all is heard. Public comments are welcome on any agenda item now or when it is called. Testifiers in person, please, again, press the microphone button and speak directly and clearly into the microphone so your statements can be recorded accurately. Zoom testifiers, please keep your video off and audio muted until called. This is an in-person meeting. Zoom and YouTube are provided as a courtesy. The meeting will continue even if these two platforms fail. Please keep your testimony respectful and deliver with aloha to me as the chair. Personal attacks and disruptive behavior will not be permitted, and I may pause or end the meeting at any time if I deem necessary to maintain decorum. All public testimony is limited to 3 minutes. I ask of you to please respect the limit so we can hear from as many of you as possible. Staff, do we have any in-person testifiers today?
Chair Daniele, we do not have any in-person testifiers at this time.
Okay, do we have any testifiers on Zoom?
Chair Daniele, we do not have any testifiers on Zoom at this time.
Okay, seeing that we have no testifiers, we are going to move to agenda item number 2. We'll be doing things a little out of order today. At the request of the applicant, agenda item number 1 has been deferred. So, agenda item number 2, applicant, LA Services Inc., EL-REZ-2024-69. Application for change of zone from single-family residential 10,000 square feet RS-10 zoning district to commercial village 10,000 square feet BC10 zoning district for a 6,920.3 square foot portion of a 25,955.4 square foot parcel. The subject property is located at 95-5591 Mamalohoa Highway at the southwest corner of the intersection with Pua'ala Place, Na'alehu Village, portion of Ka'uamano, Ka'u, Hawaii, TMK 39-5-009, parcel 1. We will now have a presentation from staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. As stated, this is a application for a change of zone for LA Services, Inc. The subject property is shown here with a red star. It's located in the town of Na'alehu in the district of Ka'u. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from a single-family residential 10,000 square feet RS10 zoning district to a village commercial 10,000 square feet CV10 zoning district for a 6,920 square foot portion of a 25,955 square foot parcel. Following a parcel consolidation, the objective of the current request is to establish a unified zoning designation of CV10 for the entire property. While the applicant notes that the rezone area would be ready for a commercial use should the change of zone be approved, there is no current plan for development or construction. The zoning map shows the subject property, the entire property is outlined in red, and the rezone area you can see is the yellow portion shown as RS10 zoning towards the back of the property, further away from the highway. And you can see the other zoning designations in the area. There is CV zoning, there is different densities of CV zoning, and there is single-family residential zoning, and there is open zoning, which is a park, existing park. Again, the subject property outlined in red, and the rezone area is the smaller portion to the back of the property. The state land use boundary designation is urban for the whole area. And you can see that the subject property rezone area and most of the area is designated medium density urban by the general plan. There is some low density urban a little further afar from the property. This aerial photograph shows you the existing subject property and the existing development at the front, the highway side of the subject property on Mamalahoa Highway. And you can see the existing development around it is mostly residential and small scale commercial. That park, Naalehu Community Park, and a school is further to the left of the slide that you're seeing. And you can see the rezone area again is undeveloped and shown just at the back end of the red rectangle there. These are site photos that the applicant provided of the existing conditions at the site. These are views of the access road, Pua'ala Place, and you can see it's partially paved and partially gravel road. These views generally both face in the direction of Mamalahoa Highway. This is the rezone area looking towards Mamalahoa Highway. I'd estimate it's about in the middle there of the rezone area, looking back towards the highway. And this indicates the rezone area again, showing a gravel surface looking back towards the existing commercial use at the front end of the property. And this is looking in the opposite direction across the rezone area, looking away from Mamalahoa Highway towards the back of the property there. So the planning director's recommendation for this one is to provide an unfavorable recommendation to the county council. And the reason is that the proposed request for a change of zone does not meet the minimum concurrency requirements for water as set forth in Hawaii County Code, Section 25-46. And that concludes our presentation. I'll be available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you for that presentation. Okay, at this point in time, will the applicant or their representatives please come forward? Okay, I'm going to swear you in first. I'm going to swear you in. Please sit. Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth on this matter now before the Windward Planning Commission? Thank you. Please speak directly and clearly into the microphone and state your name, the town that you reside, and whom you represent. Please state your name and the town that you reside in and who you represent today. And you need to turn on your mic. There you go.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
You can pull that up a little closer to you. The whole thing, the whole unit. There you go.
My name is Eric Curdy. I am live on Kauai, actually, and I'm representing LE Services in regards to this Na'alehu project.
Okay, thank you. Have you received the background and recommendation reports from the planning department?
I have.
Do you agree with the recommendations, including the proposed conditions?
I concur.
You do.
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Okay, since it's an unfavorable recommendation, there are no conditions attached to that. Is there anything you'd like to tell the commission about your application?
No, it is subject to the Department of Water Supply, and we know that the amount of water provided for that subject site doesn't adequately suffice for a fire suppression system. So we would like to, in the future, explore different possibilities to have the property rezoned without a fire suppression system.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the planning department staff or applicant?
What was the purpose for the zone? I'm sorry, Chair.
Yes, please, Vice Chair.
What was the purpose for the rezoning?
Well, initially, we consolidated the parcel as two separate parcels. A non-conforming parcel was zoned RS10, but it was only 6,900 square feet. So we consolidated the front parcel with the rear parcel in the hopes that we could have conformity and have both parcels,
Please speak into the mic because we're having trouble hearing
both
you.
parcels zoned CV10.
What was the intent upon having these parcels conjoined? Was it to resell, develop?
It was with the possibility of developing to uh, possibly put a structure that didn't require a fire suppression system at the rear, which would maybe be fuel pumps or something to that effect.
Chair.
Yes, Director.
Thank you, Chair. So this is um, a situation that we come across occasionally. You know, when we receive an application for a rezone, there are certain criteria and conditions that need to be met before the planning department can recommend a favorable recommendation to the commission as well as to the council. One of the main criteria, it comes out of the zoning code under section 25-46 called concurrency, which basically means that when we look at changing the zoning to create higher density, you want to have infrastructure in place at that time to be able to accommodate those higher uses, the higher density. One of the main areas in infrastructure that they look at is water. And under that section, there's subsection M, which is addressed in the recommendation, that says unless you have water available from the county system where we send comments to them and they send back and let us know they have enough water or they don't. In this case, unfortunately, they said the system is in place, but there's not enough water to support the proposed change of zone, right? Because it doesn't meet that level to go to commercial standards. Um, there, there is the other option of creating a private system, but their standards for a private system to meet Department of Water's department standards are so high. For something this small, it wouldn't make any sense. It would be millions of dollars. And you wouldn't even have the land area to do it. And so it puts us in a really awkward position. I know the applicants, they're very well-known business people. They do extremely well in the community. We would love to support this, but based on the criteria, we're between a rock and a hard place. What I would suggest is for the applicants, I would suggest not going forward with this because I don't see, based on the criteria, that it's going to change. But if they could work with the Department of Water Supply to see what options are available to the applicants to improve that system, to be able to allow that additional 6,000 plus square feet to be part of the property, I think that would be their best bet. I don't think that there's any way for us to waive the water requirements moving forward. Yeah, so that's the reason for the unfavorable. It's because it's clearly stated in law that we have to have that water supply recommendation coming in, supporting this to be able to move forward. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for clarifying on that. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Director, for that. Would the applicant or the representative, would you like to speak with the applicant about this? We could defer this until next meeting.
Well, basically, the client was gonna have to determine what they want to do with the property to pursue this, and explore different avenues to get this project pushed through or try to get it pushed through, or just, wait until the existing water structure is improved by the county or state, wherever.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. I know that very well. I live down there. Is that a two-lane road? Allah? Is that 2 lane or is that just considered a 1 lane road?
I don't know what the definition would be for that road. I believe it's about 15 feet in width,
Right.
so.
Yeah, because I know there's past that parcel, there was another hotel back there, I believe. Like a 15-unit hotel or motel. Yeah, I'm just thinking about traffic in there because that gets pretty congested. Because you have all that parking on that one side.
Well, on the other hand, it does alleviate the traffic in front of the gas station, which is prone to have cars backed up, trying to
Yes.
fill up gas. So the client is actually trying to move that traffic flow to the rear of the parcel.
Yeah. Commissioners, do we have any other questions?
So you just said the client is trying to move. Oh, I'm so sorry. The client is trying to move the traffic from the front to the back of the parcel. So what's currently taking place there on the parcel?
There are fuel pumps. It is a gas station that
Okay.
services Nalejo. And I believe it's one of the only gas stations available in Nalejo.
You're
But
right.
due to the traffic concerns along the highway,
Mhm.
when it does get busy, there is congestion. So
It
to
does.
alleviate that congestion, they're proposing on shifting the traffic flow to the rear of the parcel and having maybe 1 or 2 pumps put in the back at a future
Ah,
date, of course.
okay. So there is potential plans in process. It's just not presented here in the application.
Well, right now it's not feasible,
Okay.
like Mr. Darrow said,
Right, right, right.
due to water concerns. And it wouldn't be cost effective for the client to update the infrastructure, basically.
Correct. All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Um, I'm gonna move this forward with an unfavorable recommendation to the county council.
Okay, so Okay, it has been moved by Vice Chair Perrin. I need a second.
Sure. Go ahead, let me finish.
Okay.
I move that that an unfavorable recommendation be forwarded to the county council on the application for change of zone, docket number PL REZ 2024 00006. The basis for the unfavorable recommendation is the application fails to meet concurrency standards for water as required by the Hawaii County Code, section 25-2-46.
And just to clarify, that's PLREZ 2024-69.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Carl. Oh, yeah.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. It was moved by Vice Chair Perrin and seconded by Commissioner Fukushima. Do we have any discussions or comments? Yes.
Sorry. If that zone was ever to change to a CV, what would it do for the community as far as property taxes? Because wouldn't the value of that property become higher because it's a commercial parcel? That's sorry.
No
Director?
worries. Thank you for the question. I'm sure it would, but that's not something we really look at as far as like criteria for approval. What was really we're interested in is normally we ask what are the plans for the property, right? Unfortunately, we weren't given.
Any plans?
Yeah.
No, yes, that was.
I mean, even something like, well, we want to use it for a parking lot or something, just anything. But typically what we do is we look at it from highest best use. So in this particular case, it could extend the commercial uses back. It could build up to 5 units on that little parcel. I mean, it has the ability to be able to do some significant commercial uses in conjunction with the front area.
I think my concern was just seeing the value of this property go out and it affect everybody around,
Yeah.
but it sit vacant and not pour anything back into the community, as far as, income, something that they can sustain and, turn around, reciprocate that back.
Sure.
So, and then it just sitting there and them having to pay the taxes as long as it sits there and just, sucking money from them. Sorry, for lack of better. That was my concern.
Right now it's residential, so it's just a little, but again, I think if we had a clearer picture as to what the plans were for the property, it might help assist moving forward. Even if it was, we just want to alleviate parking, we want to use it specifically for parking, there might be some options moving forward. But the criteria that we have to be able to provide a favorable recommendation are pretty strict. And but I would suggest to the applicants that they may want to consider withdrawing instead of moving forward with an unfavorable. Work with the different agencies, mainly water, to see if there can be any kind of resolution to that, and then be able to come back and go forward with a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fukushima, you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, seeing there's no more discussion. Staff, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, so this is a motion moved by Vice Chair Perrin and seconded by Commissioner Fukushima for an unfavorable recommendation to the County Council for the change of zone PLREZ 2024 00069. And I'll go ahead and take the vote. Vice Chair Perrin,
Aye, sorry.
Commissioner Fukushima,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylog,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
Chair Daniele.
Aye.
The motion passes with 5 aye votes, with no votes, and Commissioner Takaki is excused and absent.
Thank you. Okay. At this point in time, we're going to go into agenda item number 4. This is the planning director has initiated an ordinance to amend chapter 25 zoning, article 1, article 2, article 4, article 5, and article 7 of the Hawaii County Code 1983 2016 edition as amended, relating to zoning district regulations for meeting facilities, community buildings, churches, temples, and synagogues. The purpose of this bill is to remove the definitions and references to churches, temples, and synagogues and community buildings and consolidate them under meeting facilities and establish the standards for their development to ensure equitable treatment in the zoning code. And this is planning director's PL-PDI-2025-14. We will now have a presentation by staff. Thank you.
My apologies, Chair and members of the Windward Planning Commission. So before you today, we have the Planning Director initiated bill relating to zoning district regulations for meeting facilities, churches, temples, synagogues, and community buildings. The purpose of this bill aims to correct zoning inconsistencies and ensure that religious institutions receive equitable treatment under the Hawaii County Zoning Code. This ordinance consolidates religious institutions under the meeting facilities definition, therefore ensuring equal treatment in zoning regulations. In addition, the bill also consolidates the overlapping term community buildings into meeting facilities for clarity and consistency. And lastly, it introduces the term event to distinguish between routine facility uses from larger commercial gatherings, such as weddings or concerts, which may require special permits or oversights. In addition to the purpose of this bill does remove the definition of community buildings. It revises the definition of meeting facility to include religious institutions, introduces the term event to distinguish between commercial or large-scale gatherings from routine facility uses. It establishes standardized operating criteria for meeting facilities, including limitations on hours of operation and attendance capacity. It requires technical review of proposed meeting facilities by applicable county and state agencies. And it amends the permitted uses for meeting facilities across all zoning districts. So the background. The federal government enacted...
Can you just speak a little
Oh.
slower, please?
Slower.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
Thank you.
So the background on the bill, the federal government enacted the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act of 2000, also known as RELUPA, in part to protect religious organizations and individuals from discriminatory land use regulations. In February of 2024, the Shabbat Jewish Center and Rabbi Levi Gerlitsky filed a lawsuit against the Hawaii County, claiming the zoning code discriminates against religious institutions by requiring them to obtain use permits in residential zones while secular meeting facilities can operate by right. The U.S. Department of Justice filed a statement in the lawsuit in March of 2024, alleging that the county's code violates the RELUPA equal terms provision by treating religious uses less favorably than comparable secular uses. The planning director is therefore proposing amendments to the Hawaii County Code to classify religious institutions as meeting facilities, aiming to eliminate any zoning disparities, ensure RELUPA compliance, and promote clear, fair land use standards. Beginning with the proposed amendments, we have the first relating to definitions. The following definition is proposed to be removed from section 25-1-5B, and that is the definition of community building. The reason for this amendment is so that by removing the community building definition, this will simplify the zoning code by eliminating redundancy. In addition, the definition of meeting facility is proposed to be amended as follows. Meeting facility will now mean a facility or building site that is used for recreational, social, or multi-purpose use and may include a kitchen but has no transient accommodations. Typical uses include private clubs, union halls, cultural, community, and association centers, religious facilities such as places of worship, and student centers. This does not include schools or events. In addition, the following definition is proposed to be added to section 25-1-5B, and that is the definition of event. An event will mean an assembly, generally by invitation or ticket purchase, that extends beyond the typical meeting facility or residential use, including but not limited to commercial weddings, wedding receptions, promotional events, and concerts. The reasons for this amendment is that it adds clarity by distinguishing routine meeting facility uses from larger commercial gatherings. This ensures that activities like weddings, receptions, and concerts are properly regulated and not automatically permitted as a part of a meeting facility. The proposed amendments relating to plan approval. To establish specific procedures for the director's review and decision-making on plan approval applications, Section 25-71C is amended to read as follows. Plan approval shall be required in all applicable districts prior to the construction or establishment of the following improvements and uses. These will require meeting facilities as permitted under Section 25-417, and events as permitted under Section 25-442 will now require a plan approval. The reasons for this amendment clarifies that plan approval, again, is required before meeting facilities and events are established, therefore ensuring proper land use oversight and compliance with zoning regulations. In addition, the proposed amendments relating to plan approval requirements for meeting facilities include the following section, which is proposed to be added. and that is section 25-4-17, newly labeled as meeting facilities. Letter A, a meeting facility can be established within a new or existing structure or on a building site for recreational, social, cultural, or multipurpose use. The facility may include a kitchen. B, a meeting facility may be used for organizations operating on a membership basis for the promotion of members' mutual interests or may be primarily intended for community purposes. C, a meeting facility only applies on building sites that have gatherings more than 2 times per week with more than 25 attendees. Continued. Letter D. The hours of operation for meeting facilities shall start no earlier than 8 a.m. and ends no later than 9 p.m. Letter E. A meeting facility can be established in a zoning district that permits such use, provided that the director has issued a plan approval. And letter F. A meeting facility shall be subject to technical review by the County Department of Public Works, County Fire Department, County Water Department, and/or the State Department of Health for compliance with current code and rule requirements. Up on your screen, I decided to show you guys a zoning use comparison table by district, which will show you that in the zoning district RS, RD, RM, and RCX, a meeting facility is currently an allowed permitted use. Meeting facilities, including events, will not be permitted. Community buildings will therefore be removed, and churches, temples, and synagogues will be removed as from the use permit requirement. In the zoning district RA, FA, and A, meeting facilities will be allowed via a special permit or use permit based on their state land use designation. Meeting facilities, including events, will also be allowed via a special permit or use permit. Community buildings are being removed, and churches, temples, and synagogues are removed as a use permit or special permit. In the IA district, meeting facilities are allowed via a special permit. Meeting facilities, including events, are also allowed as a special permit. Community buildings are being removed, and churches, temples, and synagogues are removed as a special permit as well. Within the V, CN, CG, CV, MCX, and CDH zoning districts, meeting facilities will also be allowed as a permitted use. Meeting facilities, including events, will be allowed as a permitted use. Community buildings, churches, temples, and synagogues will be removed. In the ML and the MG, meeting facilities will be allowed as a permitted use. Meeting facilities, including events, will be allowed as a permitted use only in the ML. And community buildings, churches, temples, and synagogues will be removed. And lastly, in the O district, meeting facilities will not be permitted. Meeting facilities, including events, will not be permitted. Community buildings are being removed, and churches, temples, and synagogues are not permitted. That concludes my presentation, and the planning director's current recommendation is that the Windward Planning Commission forward a favorable recommendation to the county council. At this time, I can turn it back to the chair.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Commissioners, do we have any questions for the planning department staff or planning director?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Fukushima.
So respectfully, I would like to ask, in the light of the proposed revision to our zoning code that aims to include secular activities under the term meeting facility, how do you foresee the distinction between meeting and event impacting residential neighborhoods? Specifically, what measures can we implement to ensure that the frequency and type of secular events do not disrupt the quality of life for the residents in proximity to the venues.
So, to interject, we have had a disability ADA request to speak more slowly. So I would
Oh,
just
yes.
ask all commissioners, and staff for this item to speak slowly. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to restate that, please?
Surely.
Thank you.
So in light of the proposed revision to our zoning code that aims to include secular activities under the term meeting facility, how do you foresee the distinction between meeting and event impacting residential neighborhoods? Specifically, what measures can we implement to ensure that the frequency and type of secular events do not disrupt the quality of life for residents living in proximity to these venues?
Director?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the question. So in the bill itself, there's a differentiation between event and meeting facility. If events are proposed as defined in the code, they will require a use permit, correct?
In certain zoning districts.
Correct. In the residential zoning districts, that's the particular.
And would like to correct that events are not currently allowed within the RS, RD, and the RM zoning district.
Without a use permit.
We only allowed for meeting
Okay.
facilities, not including events.
All right, so you cannot even get a use permit for events in the RS zoning.
Correct.
We ended up putting that in. Okay, but what zonings would allow a use permit with events?
The RA, A, and FA would allow for the use permit for event, meeting facilities including events as permitted by the section 25/4/17. And then in the outright zoning districts, they are
So this would be RA, FA, and A would be a use permit if it's in the state land use, urban or rural, or a special permit, urban, or a special permit if it's in the rural or agricultural district, correct?
yes, you are
Okay.
correct.
But yeah, taking into account the effect of events within the residential zonings, I think we ended up not even allowing it as an option. So if you look at the different sections in the bill that we put, you'll see meeting facilities, including events, where there's the possibility. When you look at the RS, RD, RM zonings, we don't even provide that as an option. I think one of the concerns that has been brought up is when a use becomes identified as a meeting facility, right? Typically in the planning department, we have gotten complaints when somebody has a big birthday party or they have a gathering for a football game or they have a Bible study. And so we were trying to find balance as to where, we don't want everybody to have to come in to become a meeting facility to have a private party or a Bible study or whatever it is. So we had that differentiation where it was more than 25 people, more than 2 times a week. That's where the differentiation is, correct? And so that's spelled out in there. Once it goes beyond that, then they should come into the planning department and submit a plan approval application. And before this, let me kind of back up a little so I give you some history on what happened here. So a couple years ago, you know, the planning department received a complaint or several complaints regarding an activity in a residential zone of a particular use, a religious use that was occurring on a property. Our inspector did their investigation and concluded that yes, there was this religious facility being operated in a residential zoning. In our zoning code, currently, it says to be able to operate a church, school, church, synagogue, or temple in a residential zoning, you need a use permit, right? So we issued a violation notice asking for them to cease and desist or come in for a use permit. They attempted to try to do the use permit, but it was unsuccessful in terms of getting past the submittal and everything. And so after that, we ended up receiving this lawsuit saying that that the zoning code was actually discriminatory and unconstitutional in the sense that you had other uses similar to churches, temples, and synagogues, such as a meeting facility and a community building that were being treated differently than how these other uses were being treated. Meeting facilities were permitted, community buildings required plan approval, but churches, temples, synagogues required a use permit. So in working with everyone involved, we've come to the point that we feel like we've brought everything under the same umbrella in the sense of meeting facilities are now going to be the term that we use to cover all these different types of uses, community buildings, religious institutions, and meeting facilities. It's all coming under meeting facility. And if they meet the requirement of being a meeting facility, they would need to submit plan approval, which would have its process that's done administratively. It doesn't require a public hearing and an approval from the Planning Commission as it did before. So hopefully that'll bring some context as to what we're doing and trying to achieve through this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
I have a question.
Yes, Vice Chair.
Why the number 25? Because
Yeah.
just my children and their spouses is 27. Sorry, but I have to ask.
It was, I think it was through discussions, it was more, it was less. We came to an agreement of 25. If you feel, the commission always has the ability to make recommendations to this. If you feel that that number is too small, you can request that it be increased. But that was the number that we felt, that's kind of, and again, there's no science behind it or anything.
Well, that number is more restricted in just more so I guess, the residential zones, the RSRD. Is that where that would normally apply? Just saying, because ag, you're normally on a larger plot, so there's a little bit more room for, the give and take of the 25.
It's across the board. It's not applicable to a zoning district. It's under the definition, right? It's under that identification of when you're not a meeting facility versus when you are.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions?
Last question.
Yes, Vice Chair.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say this. Can the planning department explain why the proposed amendments eliminate the requirement for public hearings or neighbor notification in cases where a religious or secular meeting facility is introduced into a residential neighborhood.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I kind of touched upon it earlier, and that was that we're trying to come up with a process that is fair and similar across the board for all these types of activities. Community buildings, meeting facilities, uh, churches, temples, synagogues, or religious institutions. It's the difficulty that we're in this position in the first place is because we treated one differently than the other. And so this brings it brings it in uniformity across the board. Okay. So at the time in discussing with all parties involved, the agreement was to move forward with the plan approval process. That doesn't mean that if that process were to change to be a use permit process across the board, that would mean that anytime a meeting facility is required, it would require a use permit in all of this. So you're just looking at uniformity. We weren't looking at the, you know, the whether or not it should be this or this. In discussion with everyone involved, we felt like this was the direction that we should go in because this was the agreed upon process. Now, again, everything is up to the commission and the council to approve or not approve this process. We're recommending approval to move forward, but again, through this process, that may change.
Last question, I hope, sorry. Um, with the changing of this, was the RLUIPA taken into consideration? That's the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act.
That was the whole purpose of this, because of that discrimination within our zoning code.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Director. Are there any other questions? Okay, if none, staff, are there any individuals present to provide in-person testimony?
Thank you, Chair Daniele. We have one in-person testifier, Claudia Rohr. If you could come to the testifier table, I can swear you in. And Chair, just give us a few moments so that we can bring her laptop up to the front table.
I think as we're going to get set up, we'll do a 5-minute recess. We'll come back at 10:05. Thank you. YouTube backup.
Sorry.
Okay, YouTube is up. Thank you. We can swear in the testifier.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Rohr, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth today before the Windward Planning Commission? Okay.
And also, could you turn on your mic, please?
Okay, I want to explain how this works. Now there's an echo. I have to turn this. Oh, you can't hear me. Hold on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I don't have to hear. Okay, I want to explain how this works. I have a hearing disability and someone's typing what you say into a screen. If someone says something and then someone immediately says something behind it, it moves the script up and so I don't have a chance to read it. So if I go like this, it means pause so I can read it. Thank you. I don't need to hear to answer her question because I read it. She asked me if I swear to tell the truth, and I do.
Okay, please say your.
His system doesn't really work. There's an echo between the mic and this, and I can't deal with that. At the same time, I can't hear myself speak. So it's a very odd experience. Please be patient as an accommodation for my hearing disability. Thank you.
Thank you. Please say your name and the town you live in.
Go ahead. My name is Claudia Rohr, and I live in Hilo, Hawaii, down in Keaukaha.
Okay, you have 3 minutes for your testimony.
Thank you. Aloha, Chair Daniele, Planning Commissioners, and Director Jeff Darrow. The director did not advertise any community meetings for the public to ask questions. So today I'm going to ask him some questions. I gave you all a piece of paper that I'm going to read from. The written communication is my preferred form of communication. As you are aware, or at least you should be aware, my next door neighbor, Hui Hole Maluo, advertises that they provide opportunities for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math skill building, place-based learning, and community engagement through the maintenance and management of Lokaia ecosystems on 3 contiguous parcels named Kaumaui in Keaukaha in the residential zone, where on and off-street parking is a primary constraint. I provided you with photos of the parking on March 21st this year for a Ohana Day that they held. And the first 4 pictures is of Nene Street where I live. I got a call from my neighbor asking me what was going on because of the traffic jam on Nene Street. Then the next page is when I called the planning department, no one picked up the phone. So I got in my car and drove there. And on my way, I had to exit Oe Street because it's in the opposite direction. And my other neighbor who has a vacation rental house had 6 cars stacked in his driveway, one across it, and then several on the street. And then there's a photo of one backing out from a driveway of the vacation rental that he owns next door. And so I did have to stop. So I put my car in park and took enough photos to try to provide evidence of the event. My questions are, Director Darrow, will this proposed bill for zoning ordinance in its present form allow Hui Hole Malo
You have 30 seconds left.
community events, community gatherings and meetings for up to 75 attendees twice a week over 3 parcels permitted as a right in the single-family zone under Section 25-4-17C? A meeting facility only applies on building sites that had gatherings more than 2 times per week with more than 25 attendees.
Your 3 minutes
So
are
wait,
finished.
Do I wait for him to answer or do I keep going?
Okay, thank you for your testimony.
No. How would the department zoning enforcement officers count heads in
Yes,
the event of
your
an
3 minutes
inspection?
have expired. And now
Basically,
we're going to go on
counting
to.
heads is unenforceable.
Uh,
I provided photographs on the 3rd page, I believe, of the
Okay, we're
photographs
going to
I
take a short
took
break.
of this.
Okay, thank you.
I'm supposed to read and testify at the same time? Well, I'd like a little leeway here because it's hard to read and testify, stop, listen, what you're saying. May I please make my comment? I addressed the question.
Yeah, we have your written statements. So
What?
we have your written statements.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, what I have to say is that what Jeff said about a high, a strict compliance with certain things, like you must comply with the general plan and the new general plan under state law 46-2. This in the new general, the one that you're approving now, is adopting Hawaii Island Vision Zero, saving lives with safe streets. So this ordinance, proposed ordinance in its present form, you can't legally give it a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Commissioners or council, do we have any comments or questions? Vice Chair, you have a question?
I do. This is for the planning department. Why is a use permit still required for meeting facilities in agriculture zones, but not in residential zones, where homes are in closer proximity and impacts may be more immediate?
So currently, we went off of what the current requirements are for meeting facilities. So if you look in the RS zoning district, meeting facilities are currently a permitted use. Whereas in the agricultural districts, they are not an outright permitted use, and they do require if I'm not mistaken, a special permit, whereas churches, temples, and synagogues require a use permit or a special permit. So therefore, we try to follow as much as possible what was already in the zoning code. And that's how we came up with that.
Then,
Okay, at this point in time, we're going to take a 5-minute recess so we can help the testifier back to the audience. Okay, great. Thanks, staff. Okay, we can continue. Vice Chair, you had a. Okay, we are going to resume our meeting. Vice Chair, you had a question? Thank you.
yes, I had a question. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I word it correctly. How does the county plan to enforce the 25 attendees 2 times per week rule?
Similar to how we be able to investigate any other complaint. I mean, it's not going to be easy. We receive complaints that say this house is not being used as a single family dwelling because there are 15 people that are unrelated living in the house, right? So our zoning code says you can have a single family or up to 5 unrelated people living in a single family dwelling. So our inspector will go out and do their investigation to see if that's valid or not valid. It would have to be the same in this particular case. If it's going to be they'll be looking at it from number one, the amount of people, number two, the amount of occurrences. If this is happening on a daily basis, regardless of the amount of people, it's going beyond the 2 times a week, right? If
So
it's
just to restate, the 2 instances that were brought up today are gonna go on your folks' radar for investigation.
They already are.
Okay.
That's a separate matter. We've been working on that for some time now. It's it's really not related to this, but again, it could in the future, and I think that's what the testifier's concern is, but it's premature in the sense we really don't know what the end result of this bill will be. So we can't really answer to what the future will be in regards to meeting facilities at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Director. Do we have any other testifiers? Zoom?
We have no more in-person testifiers, Chair. I'm not sure about Zoom.
Okay,
Aloha Chair, we do not have any testifiers on the.
okay, thank you.
Chair.
Yes, Director.
Sorry about that. Earlier, there was a comment made by Vice Chair Perrin regarding family, and I think that's a valid concern. Some families in Hawaii are quite large. So the issue, what I think we can do in that particular case, if the commission is open to it, is considering putting in something to the term exclusive of family members to that number 25, if that is a concern. Uh, it's hard because we want to make sure that, people, will not utilize that as a means of um, a loophole or something, in the sense that they'll hold large wedding events. We we feel comfortable about it because events is pretty defined, and if we start having those types of events, even if it's family or not family, it really. But normally, those types of events will be like, if it's a family wedding, it'll be once. It's not going to be like once a week, or you know what I mean. Uh, but it's something to consider. Thank you.
May I? I would just
Yes,
like
Commissioner.
to, I would like to add to what you've said. I like the distinction. I think that as Hawaiians, local people, we love to have gatherings. We enjoy our family events. We have large families. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that having a large event, or so-called, now that we have language for it and making the distinction, I think most people, I know about my neighborhood, they have parties several times a year, large. And I don't think that people are as conscious of the fact that perhaps they'd have to apply for some sort of a permit. And so I do like the distinction. I am in favor of that. And I like the family piece added to that. I like the family piece added to that as a consideration because I think culturally that aligns with who we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an important point that we want to drive home here, is that this is not intended to, create a restriction against family events. Culturally, that is something that occurs on a regular basis. It's not to the point that it's every other day, or 5 days a week, or even, it's on a regular basis, but that's, again, family. And so the point is, that's not the intent of this bill, but we want to also make sure that that isn't something that's going to um, be detrimented by this bill going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, there are no more questions. Um, can I ask for a motion for action?
I, oh,
Yes, Commissioner.
Who's gonna ask for it in executive session? Sorry, executive session. Okay. Um, I move that the commission enter into executive session to consult with its attorney regarding questions and issues pertaining to the commission's power, duties, and privileges.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Do it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're going to break for executive session.
Testing, testing, testing. This is a test. Testing, testing. This is a test. This is a test. Is it coming from the bottom? Testing, testing. This is a test.
We're going to resume today's meeting. Uh, Commissioners, we're going to start the meeting. Thank you. Is the YouTube up? Great, thank you. Okay, welcome back. We had this break, we had some technical difficulties. Those have been overcome, and we're ready to continue with today's meeting. We left off with, is there a motion for action?
I move that a favorable recommendation be forwarded to the County Council on the proposed amendments to Chapter 25 zoning, Article 1, Article 2, Article 4, Article 5, and Article 7 of the Hawaii County Code 2016 edition as amended. Docket number PL-PDI-2025-000014, based on the planning director's recommendations, including the language referenced today, exclusive of family members.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or comments? Okay, so it was moved by Vice Chair Perrin and seconded by Commissioner Fukushima. If there is no discussion or comments, we will move on to roll call from staff.
Thank you, Chair. So right now, the motion is to forward a favorable recommendation to the County Council with the proposed amendments in Section 8 of the bill proposed to the new Section 25-417 on meeting facilities. The amendment will be to letter C, and it will read, a meeting facility only applies on building sites that have gatherings more than 2 times per week with more than 25 attendees, exclusive of family members. Okay. Vice Chair Perrin,
Aye.
Commissioner Fukushima,
Aye.
Commissioner Baylog,
Aye.
Commissioner Deleuze,
Aye.
and Chair Daniele.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0 with Commissioner Takaki excused and absent. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And the commission will forward its recommendation to the county council in writing. Okay, so other business, the SMA reports were distributed via email. Commissioners, do you have any questions on the SMA report for staff? Okay, if there are none. No. All right, we will have a, no. So we're gonna have a testifier on the SMA report. Okay, you have 3 minutes for your testimony. Thank you.
My name's Claudia Rohr, and I'm still under oath to tell the truth. In January of 2022, I testified in front of the Planning Commission complaining about my next door neighbors, that they had planning department had failed to process an SMA permit application for more than 60 days. They were required to pass it to the Planning Commission. I have a lawsuit because it went to the Board of Appeals, and one of my arguments was that they never passed it forward, although they just stalemated it and you never got to hear it. These are the pictures of what happened on the 21st. And there is an NOVO, and my next door neighbors have been in violation of it since November of 22, and they have not enforced it unfairly. And they're trying to moot my lawsuit with this amendment to the zoning code. They are using you. Whether you think I'm right or not, I support my neighbor's program. I just want them to go through the right processes so I have a voice. The traffic on all roads are not the same. Some roads block emergency services when there are all those cars parked there for these 25 plus family events. It's impossible to count heads. He did not answer your question. And he's not doing anything, even though I brought him these photos and a video, but he probably had trouble watching that. in any event, I'm reporting to you that the planning department is not passing forward SMA permits for $1.5 million worth of improvements that they planned and applied for in June of 21, and they didn't pass it forward to you. And when I complained January of 22, all of a sudden they withdrew it and did a minor SMA permit, and they are they're dividing projects up. And the way this amendment reads,
You have
you're
30
gonna-
seconds left.
okay. I'm very dissatisfied, and I think that it's causing another federal lawsuit, to be honest.
Thank you for your testimony. Okay, agenda items for next meeting.
Chair, you have 5 items tentatively scheduled for your next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any matters that you would like to agendize for the future meetings? Future meeting? Okay, if none, the Windward Planning Commission's next regular meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, May 1st, 2025, here in the County Council chambers in Hilo, and the public can also testify via Zoom. The date and venue of the meeting are subject to change. Ask the staff, and staff, any other announcements?
No, Chair.
Great. If no further business, I will ask for a motion to end today's meeting.
Motion to end today's meeting.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Great. The motion to adjourn today's meeting was moved by Vice Chair Perrin and seconded by Commissioner Fukushima. To adjourn, all in favor say aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned. The time is 10:57 a.m. Thank you.
Closed captions transcript will be implemented shortly, and those who wish to save the transcript